I'm at home watching the CNN news, and I've got my DVR on. I just saw something that I rewound back to that I find very hard to understand. First of all, I want to congratulate the French police force on the massive manhunt, 80,000 police officers, and you track down the two killers of the Charlie Hebdo murderers in 2 days. Okay, that's awesome. In the United States, manhunts often last longer. We don't have the manpower for such things. I could only imagine if we had terrorists that we were looking for, that I could only hope we could afford the manpower that you did to track down the brothers that murdered the members of Charlie Hebdo. Okay, the problem I have is that I'm about to push play on my DVR, and in the past, we've got footage of one of the brothers when he was previously convicted, one of his early court visits. And during this visit, he is allowed to wear a hoodie and come and go apparently at his own free will. Okay, I understand some things and I don't understand others. Usually in the United States, if you're charged, if you're suspected of something, then you're allowed to be free. But when it comes to court, you don't you're not seeing no people are seen coming and going from court who have been charged with something, and he was later convicted of what he was suspected of, and he's seen pulling a hoodie over his face. Part of the guilt of the perp walk is to not hide the identity of the perpetrator, to allow suspected criminals or even convicted ones, which the next clip after that one shows, to wear a hoodie on his way to court when he's been charged with a crime and he is, bound, and he is being handled by police officers on the way to detention. The second video clearly shows this latest terrorist, suspected terrorist, is in, he's being detained physically. He's not free to shout his innocence on the court stairs to the media. He's actually also wearing a hoodie, and he's being detained. Hoodies are okay if you're a kid, unless George Zimmerman is around, but it's not okay, France. You need to. The perp walk is a perp. He is a perpetrator of a crime. I don't understand. Maybe there is something I don't understand, but to allow them to walk and not hide their face, that is beyond understanding. Here's the clips.
Moment before they executed a French policeman. It is a chilling change from 6 years ago when one of the attackers, Sharif Kouachi, covering his face as he exits court, proclaims his innocence. He was on trial for recruiting jihadists to travel.
Okay, you see?
The whole thing has been set up. We are just young kids from the suburbs. That is all. We get passionate. We talk like this. But there's nothing more. We did nothing wrong.
Kouachi was found guilty and
See,
sentenced.
he was not being detained.
Police are now frantically searching for other members of his cell still at large. Today, a contact of Kouachi's, Fritz Jolie Joaquin, was charged with terrorism in court in Bulgaria. Captured there on his way to Syria. Bulgarian officials said Joaquin was in contact with Kouachi several times and left with his son.
Okay, you see, I don't understand how both of these detainees, first one who was possibly just a suspect leaving the court, was allowed. Okay, I understand more of why he was allowed, but I'm not quite understanding why, as a suspect of a terrorist plot, talking about doing an act, he was allowed to be coming and going on his own recognizance in the first place. This happens in America sometimes, but usually it's a domestic, that is a household issue between a husband and a wife, and there has to be circumstantial evidence until you can detain the person. That wasn't the case there. He walked out of those doors. This guy, who's being handled by the police, he's in detention, he's still being allowed to cover his face. I don't understand that. I don't, and I never will. They're proudly displaying their faces on many times. They're proud to display their faces and shout to Allah and point their finger to heaven. And then it's just odd how they pick and choose when they show their faces. And it's usually during the most violent acts where they're about to go out in a bang. Okay? But the government and the authorities shouldn't help them to this end. If they're Muslims, that's fine. That's A-OK by this guy. The problem is, if you're proud enough to kill, you should at least be man enough to show your face. And it's a question of cowardice and allowing them to do this once they're in detention. Shouldn't be allowed, ever.